You are listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer. Chitra Iyer is a parent of 25-year-old Shravan Iyer who has epilepsy, cerebral palsy and autism. She is the CEO of MFA and has been helping families with life-centered planning to reach their personal financial goals. She is also a trustee of a parent support group, the Forum for Autism, which was set up almost 2 decades ago. MFA is an 18-year-old organization in the personal finance space. They have set up a dedicated practice to help families with special needs children to plan their financial goals and invest for them. The thoughts shared here are a result of the discussion with parents, caregivers, siblings, and professionals regarding the planning of a person with special needs.
Hello, everyone. A big warm welcome to all of you on this expert series of my podcast for special needs children. In this episode, we have with us Dr. Sujata Bhan. Hello, Dr. Sujata.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking your time for this interview. Dr. Sujata is a professor and head of Department of Special Education, SNDT Women's University in Mumbai. She's a trained psychoeducationist and teacher educator. She's actively involved in teaching, administration, research, and has been training teachers in special education for 3 decades. She's a registered guide for PhD in special education. Her passion for special education is evident in her extensive research, innovative teaching methodologies, and advocacy efforts aimed at empowering individuals with diverse learning needs. Dr. Bhan's commitment to promoting inclusive practices has not only enriched the academic community at SNDT Women's University, but has also had a profound impact on the broader education sector. Really looking forward to listen to your journey, Doctor. I'm going straight to the first question, may I?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, Dr. Sujata, if I may say, Dr. Sujata, what inspired you to specialize in the field of special education, and how has your journey been in this domain?
So, hi once again, and thank you for having me for this podcast. It's really my pleasure to be here. Answering your question about my journey, it wasn't planned. I was a psychologist. I did my master's and MPhil in psychology from Punjab University, Chandigarh. And then I wanted to be a school counselor. I did a course in counseling from the Department of Education in Punjab University. But my mother was very keen that I should join higher education. So she pushed me that, no, you can't be just a school counselor. You have to do your PhD and you have to get into, higher education. Somehow I got married soon after my education and came to Bombay. I was just lucky at that time. SNDT had advertised this post and I just took a chance. And they needed a psychologist because one of the core papers is that on psychology. And my then head of the department, Professor Smriti Sarup, I owe what I am today to a great extent to her. She took me on. And ever since that day, it's been now nearly 31 years, the journey has only gotten better with each passing year and each experience that I've had in this field. Initially, I was focusing only on psychology, but then gradually I got interested in special education. I did my B.Ed and PhD in special education. And I realized that, when you connect psychology and special education, the marriage between the two is really wonderful because you can understand the psychology of your children who have diverse needs. You can understand the psychology of their families better, and you can, give services better. So, my journey ever since has been most rewarding. And every time you meet a fresh batch of students, see, basically, I'm into teacher education. So you train students to become teachers for special children. So every year you have a fresh lot of student trainees coming to you, and you see how you want to inspire them, influence them, train them to be the best special educators and offer services once they're out in the field. So that also has been, very challenging, encouraging, inspiring, and I really enjoy this.
That sounds lovely. You make it all sound so easy. With I'm sure that's it's because of your sheer enthusiasm that it's all coming out as something that's really absolutely amazing. But my next question comes to you that as a professor at SNDT Women's University, what are some of the innovative teaching methodologies or approaches you employ in special education to cater to the diverse learning needs, Doctor?
Yes. See, in our field, now we talk about technology a lot, but prior to that, when technology was not the in thing, in special education, experiential learning is very, very important. So we provide a lot of field experiences to our students. So we provide them opportunities where they engage in hands-on real-world experiences in diverse educational settings. Like, for example, they would be placed in a government school, they would be placed in a high level, high fundu international school, or any institute working in the area of rehabilitation of persons with disabilities. It could be through internships, it could be through their community engagement projects, it could be through their practice of teaching. And that, when they come with that experience in the classroom, then we have a lot of discussion on that. So that was one thing which we have been practicing from the very, very beginning. Now we talk a lot about, in this intervention of ICT. So we use flipped classroom where a lot of readings or videos are given to the students beforehand. They watch it, they read the materials given to them. When they come in the class, then we have more participatory discussions. So it's not like a spoon feeding, where you dictate notes in the class. We have never followed that practice. So it's always very interactive classrooms, which is full of brainstorming and discussion. We also do a lot of problem based learning where we present real world problems or scenarios where students are prompted to collaboratively work on those issues, apply the theoretical knowledge that we give them to solve those practical situations. We also have a center which is called Arushi the Learning Center. It's a small special school attached to our department. Now, this is an experimental school. The idea of this school was to provide again a hands on experience to our students. So, what they learn in theory in the classroom, they're able to apply that in this small center where we have about 25 students with different disabilities. So, our BEd trainees and MEd trainees work in this center. So that also, works very well for us because we are able to observe, we are able to guide, we are able to supervise our students and give them the corrective advice where they need to hone their skills better. We also do a lot of simulation and role playing. For example, I teach courses on visual impairment. So then we blindfold our students, let them experience what it is like to be blind, what challenges do they face. When they develop that empathy for a person who has total blindness or any form of visual impairment, they are better equipped to understand the challenges and find relevant solutions for them. We have expanded core curriculum for the blind, wherein they have to learn activities of daily living. A simple example: how will a blind person cook? Well, you would be aware that all blind people, most of them, they are able to live a very normal life. They can take up jobs, they can run their household, they can bring up their children, but it doesn't come automatically. They have to be trained for that. So we have a BEd and MEd program in visual impairment where we train our students through simulations and role playing how and what it is to be a blind and how can you teach those skills to the blind students. We also follow collaborative learning approaches where we involve teachers from other colleges as well. Ours is a department of special education, so we include teachers from general education. So there are like school subjects, for example, they have to teach science. Now, science in a regular classroom, how it will be taught, and if they have a child with any diverse condition or any disability in that class, how will they make adaptations and accommodations for that child in the class? So it is a co-teaching model we follow, wherein we call teachers from general education background as well. So that works very well because our students are generally used to teaching one-on-one. A child with special needs, and there is one special educator teaching that child. They also need to be prepared for inclusive schools where they will be handling the whole class, which also may be having a few students who have some disabilities. So, therefore, they need to be trained in teaching school subjects to non disabled students as well. So, there the co teaching approach really works very well. So, these are some of the methods we follow. We also have a lot of guest speakers coming from within the country, outside the country, wherever we feel that, our students will benefit from their inputs. So, we follow that also very often in our teaching, so that our students are well equipped. They are, different kinds of skill enrichment programs are planned for them. Even our alumni are very strong force. So many often we call our alumni who are doing very well for themselves, who have, over the years learned so much more and have developed a niche for themselves. So we invite them and they conduct workshops for our students. So on the whole, we try to give a very rich experience to our students, incorporating technology and both conventional and unconventional methods of teaching.
That's fabulous, Doctor. It's really very interesting to listen to, how you encompass everything, right? As you rightly shared, that technology is something which is being offered today, but in the past, all of those giving people a lot of experiential learning is something that really goes a long way when a teacher is actually sitting in front of a child with a disability. Thank you for sharing that. And going on to the next question. As a mentor and educator, what advice would you give to aspiring professionals entering the field of special education, especially in terms of navigating challenges and making a meaningful impact? Sadly, we do see that a lot of students who opt, they come in thinking, unless somebody has a true empathy towards wanting to become a teacher, and they have that whole uh, angst as a child also, that I'm going to go grow up and become a teacher in life. Those opting for teaching maybe the neurodiverse or anybody with diverse needs, can you please elaborate how does this process happen at their end when they're selecting this, and what how do you guide them in terms of taking this up as a huge lifetime career?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because we are also struggling today to attract more students in the field of special education, particularly in a city like Bombay, where there are so many other options available. First and foremost, what I feel is that those who are genuinely interested in the field should come into this field. It should not be the last option. I didn't get admission anywhere else. Okay, so let me be a teacher. I didn't get admission in a general B.Ed program, so let me be a special educator. That should not be the case. Then it's just a futile exercise for us as well as for them. And it's very difficult. Very few do get transformed. But I personally feel that you need to have a calling from within to be a special educator, because then that is a testament to their belief in the potential of every individual. You know, so if they are in the field, then the first thing that I advise them is, when we do our orientation to our new batch, we focus on this fact that they need to understand that every single child has something within himself or herself. They have to tap on that unique strength of each and every student. They have to recognize that every learner is a mosaic of abilities that need to be unveiled. And they have taken the responsibility on themselves to unveil that ability in every single child. If they begin their career, if they begin their journey in special education with that belief in themselves, the journey will be, very rewarding for them, right? Practically speaking, I tell them that you have to forge connection not only with the student, but also with their families and also with other professionals. In our field, you can't work in silos. If you are a special educator, you will have to closely work with a mainstream teacher. If your child is in a mainstream school, you have to collaborate with the mainstream teacher. You have to collaborate with other therapists who may be working on this child. And families cannot be left aside. You have to get engaged with the families to understand the child better, and whatever intervention you are doing with the child, the families have to take it forward. So A student in this field has to be adaptable, flexible, and have that ability to collaborate. Collaboration is the cornerstone of effective special education. That I must emphasize. As I mentioned, adaptability. That is again very, a key in special education. You may be going in a class with a fixed lesson plan, but in the class, the student may respond in a different manner. Maybe he's had a meltdown. Maybe he had some medicine, and because of that, he's very drowsy. Maybe he has a convulsion at that point of time. So, how do you adapt your teaching? How do you adapt your communication to the child at that point of time? What strategy will you use? So, don't be rigid. This is how I'm going to go about it, and this is how I will do it in the class. Things don't always work as per your plan. So, the student teacher has to be very flexible in her approach. Another very important thing which I want to highlight is, special educators at times become very possessive about their children, that our special child is best with me. If that child goes in a regular school, the regular class teacher is not going to attend to the needs of this child, so he's better with me. He's better off with me. And special educators sometimes feel threatened that now everybody is talking about inclusion, so maybe my job is in danger. So we tell our students, though ours is a department of special education, we are strong advocates for inclusion. We have to become the champion of the cause of inclusion of children with special needs, because eventually they have to go back to the community. So we have to equip them with the skills which will enable them to have that transition from special school to mainstream school, or they could be in the mainstream school right from the beginning, and we provide the support externally. So a special educator cannot shy away from inclusion. Rather, it's a responsibility that she prepares the student to be included in the mainstream school sooner than later. Another very simple thing I tell them, be lavish in your praises. Be congratulate and celebrate small successes of the students. Progress in our field is not, it's not very fast. It's not something you can do something today and tomorrow you'll see a dramatic change in the child. It doesn't happen that way. Progress does not follow the conventional timelines that you would see in a non-disabled child. But so the parents also sometimes feel very dejected, demotivated. Oh, nothing is happening with our child. He's still the same. So you have to choose the task where the child will show small victories, small breakthroughs. Every step forward, no matter how small that step is, it gives a reason to rejoice for the teacher and highlight that with the parent. Then the parents continue to be motivated, right? Uh, Another thing, which again I feel is very important for the teachers to remember, that our field is very dynamic. Every now and then you see new researches, new techniques are emerging. Now, if my special educator has done her B.Ed or M.Ed, has got her RCI registration number, and then she sits over it. I did my B.Ed in 2008, now I don't need to do anything. That is a wrong attitude. We have to understand that there has to be continuous learning, continuous professional development of a special educator. And for this RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India, which is a statutory body, all the courses in special education are governed by Rehabilitation Council of India. So they are organizing these CRE programs, which is continuous rehabilitation education programs for special educators. So my observation is, generally special educators come just to collect these CRE points. They are not really interested in the new learning, which is again something which really, saddens me. Many organizations, NGOs, universities, colleges offering special education programs conduct these programs, CREs. But when we have these participants who are not really interested in learning and just come for points, that is very disappointing. So, my advice to special educators is that you have to keep yourself updated. Because you're in special education, you cannot shortchange the quality of education that you give to a special child. Kuch bhi chalega should not be the attitude. You have to give the child the best. You have to provide quality education to every special child, and remembering that they have limited time to learn so many skills. So you teach them in such a manner that by the end of it, you're able to optimize their potential to the fullest. You cannot, underestimate their potential, is what I'm trying to say. So for that, they need to believe in themselves that, yes, I'm responsible for making a difference in the child in my class. And they should never underestimate the impact that they can have. So their dedication, their compassion, and hard work will make a profound difference in the lives of their students. So they are not just an educator. Actually, if you use the cliched word, they are a beacon of hope or a catalyst for, what could I say, a positive change for that child in their class. So, yeah, so this is the kind of message I would like to give to the special educators who are in the course.
It's lovely. It sounded absolutely, you sound so charged up, and I'm just wondering how you must be in a class full of teachers when you're mentoring them. You must be sounding so, showing this total light for them, and I'm sure that they must be really feeling so uplifted that yes, we should be doing whatever you're trying to teach them, doctor.
I would like to say one thing over here in connection with
Yeah,
you telling me that you have to be a happy teacher to have happy students
yeah,
in your class. And they have to
absolutely
be
right.
happy teachers tomorrow to have happy children in their class. So you have to be
How true.
enthusiastic. You have
Correct,
to
correct.
be very charged. If you're dull and drab and boring, your whole session with the students will be like that. You may be teaching simple concept in the class. You may be just narrating a story of a thirsty crow, but how you narrate that is what will garner the interest of every child in your class. So I always tell my students that imagine yourself to be an actor like you have in a movie. How you get engaged
Yeah,
in our movie. When you come out, you remember everything about the movie, but when you attend any session, we hardly remember anything from that class. So be that actor in your class so that they remember what you have said, just like they remember a movie dialogue, you know?
brilliant. I just absolutely love this, what you said, what you
Yeah.
shared. It's so true. You feel so energized when you have such wonderful teachers around, really. So, moving on, Dr. Ban, how does SNDT collaborate with other institutions or organizations,
Yeah.
basically to advocate for rights and
Yes.
inclusion of individuals with special needs in society?
Yeah. See, one, we have to collaborate with all the schools where we go for our practice of teaching. Okay, our students have to learn how to become a teacher by having simulated teaching in their own classrooms, and then they go to different schools, as I mentioned earlier, also. So, for that, we have to sign a memorandum of understanding with different schools where our students go. Now, under that MOU, it is not just that our students go there and do their practice of teaching. They also do the assessment of students who may be having some learning difficulties. So either our students go to that school or the schools nearby send their children to our department and we do their assessment. Many a times we also conduct training programs for parents of their children as well as teachers. So depending upon the need of a particular school, they will come forward to us requesting us for a particular workshop or assessment or whatever. That is one way of collaboration with other schools. Then we also have collaborations with, for example, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Now we have a memorandum of understanding with them where we take together researchers, right? So if they have any research project or we have any research project, so we discuss with each other and we do collaborative research projects. And again, they call us for their teacher training, like they are interested in how to have diversity included in higher education. That's a common concern today. Not that in school education we have achieved 100% inclusive education, but everything runs parallelly, right? We cannot completely achieve one goal and then we move to the other goal. It doesn't work that way. So while we are talking about inclusive education at school level, we are also talking about inclusive education at the higher education level. So, for example, in Tata Institute, they invited us to conduct sessions on universal design for learning for their teachers. And in a project, they had participants from many developing nations like Nepal, Bhutan, Tanzania, and Indonesia. So we conducted sessions for them also. So, like that, we have collaborations where primarily we focus on research, working together on writing research papers, and conducting capacity building programs. One thing more I
Yeah.
must add, I forgot about it. Like this Rehabilitation Council of India, we are expert members with that body. So whenever they are developing new curriculum, whenever they are developing any policy, most of the times I'm also one of the experts. Along with many experts, we develop, we contribute in developing the curriculum or any policy which comes out from RCI.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to actually ask you, that what about the government? Is there any collab there?
Yes.
Or, any at policy level?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
in CERT. There also we have done a lot of work together. I have been in their academic council. I have been part of their resource material development. So when they call number of experts, I'm one of the experts. So we have done a lot of projects together with NCRT and primarily with NCRT and Rehabilitation Council of India, of course, because that is our governing body, and I have been associated with them for many years.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, looking ahead, Dr. Bhan, what are your hopes and aspirations for the future of special education, both at SNDT Women's University, particularly, and on a broader scale?
As far as future is concerned, what I just mentioned, see, the latest buzzword is universal design for learning. It's an inclusive pedagogy where we learn how do you teach the entire class without labeling a student with LD or autism or any other disability. You have just students with diverse needs. So how do you address the diversity in the class? So I feel in future, more and more teachers should be aware of this pedagogy. So a lot of workshops should be conducted where teachers are trained in UDL. Technological innovations are on a rise. We know about that. So, assistive technologies, including augmented reality. Now we talk about artificial intelligence, virtual reality. How all these can be incorporated in our field is something we have to be aware of and try to, move with the times. These technological innovations are happening at such a fast pace. We will become redundant if we do not keep pace with that, right? So we have to use these as tools to support students with disabilities in accessing education. And continuous training, again, as I said, for future also, the teachers, the special education professionals, they have to undergo continuous professional development to stay updated. And our research area is weak. We do very good work, like our teachers in schools also. Many teachers are doing wonderful work, but we do not believe in documenting. We do not believe in data because we just keep doing the work and just keep doing the work. Whereas in the Western countries, you'll see that they do small things, but they document it and make it sound like, wow. So why should
Mm.
we be lagging behind? So I feel it's very important that our teachers, they are also trained in simple action research. They are trained in how they can document the work they are doing and build this body of research in special education so that we don't have to always rush to, West to read
Yeah,
materials, to get materials. We're always banking on that, and their context is very different, right? So we need
true.
materials which are built, which are developed in our context. So that I feel is something that we need to focus on in near future. Also, emphasis on social and emotional skills in our students is very, very important because we see the mental health issues are also on a rise. Particularly after COVID, you see more
Yeah.
mental health issues happening with children. And the new this RPWD Act in 2016 has given now 21 disabilities, and mental health is one of them. Mental illness is one of the disabilities, right? So it's very important that we recognize the importance of social and emotional skills. And we have to work on our curriculum, that it is inbuilt in our curriculum, which focuses on the well-being of students with special needs. Another thing which I feel is that we don't talk about transition. We don't focus on transition. We do not work On transition, what I mean by transition is when the child moves from home to school, school to college, college to workplace. This is one area where I feel that in future we really have to plan that. My job doesn't end once my child from Arushi leaves. Our age is from 4 to 18. We take students in Arushi. Once he's out of Arushi, what does he do? I'm not concerned about that. Does my duty and responsibility end there? No, it doesn't. Right? So, how do I plan for his transition? Do I identify the workplaces for him? Do I prepare him? What could be the prerequisite skills that particular workplace will expect from this child? How do I help him to get integrated into new workplace? How do I help the employer in understanding the needs of this child? And the child also, how do I tell him that these are the expectations of you when you're out in the field in a particular work environment? Do I train him in necessary soft skills? So, in order to foster independent living, what do I do to make sure that my student is ultimately, empowered to live an independent life? So, that transition planning, I feel, is an area where we are not really focusing on. We must focus on that as well. And yeah, I feel it's a combination. When you talk about the future of special education, it's a combination of all technological innovations, the philosophies we keep seeing, the dynamic philosophies, the dynamic changes that we are seeing in education of children with disabilities, the policy attitude, the policy decisions, and the attitudes, how the attitudes of people are also evolving over time. Sometimes we see that our communities are still stuck with that charity model. Oh, bichara, let me celebrate my son's birthday by giving something to special children. That is the attitude that we want to break from. There should not be any attitude of charity towards children with special needs. We have to acknowledge that they have human rights, just like anybody else. And each one of us has that commitment to inclusivity, giving them support, need based support, and focusing on the strength of each learner and shaping their future as best as we can.
Thank you. Thank you again. There's a lot of loss of words right now. You said so much, and I'm going to try and capture all of that in the end. Coming to the last question, Dr. Sujata, as someone so deeply involved in the field, it is so evident in the passion with which you speak. What are the three essential changes you envision for better support and services for individuals with disabilities in India? What would you say?
First and foremost, it is accessibility. We talk about Sagamya Bharat and accessible India, but believe me, I have traveled most of the places. Obviously, I can't say all, if not most, many places in India where accessibility is still a major issue. I'll give you one example. I was recently in Northeast visiting a school, and we had to check the accessibility as one of the criteria of our research. And the headmaster of the school tells me we have a disabled friendly washroom. And we obviously asked us where it is, and imagine. Now, that washroom had a tactile flooring, but it had an Indian seat with no railings and no water supply. Do you call this accessible? Do you think a student who's using wheelchair will be able to use Indian seat? And when we asked them why did they think about all these things, they said, well, we had limited funds. Within the funds that we got, that's all we could produce. So I said, now please don't call it an accessible washroom. So in many schools, they are not accessible. There are no ramps. The ramps have an incline which is so steep that it is not, we have guidelines for this accessibility. Nobody is adhering to the guidelines. Anybody does anything just for the sake of saying that, yes, our school is accessible. So that is one area. And it is not just the schools, it is also the public spaces. How much are we concerned about the persons with disabilities access to everything else out there in the community, which I haven't access to, be it a cinema hall, be it a park, be it any museum? Are we making it physically accessible for everybody? Our buses, for that matter, accessible transport. When we get into the train, when we get into the bus, what do you call that? Step board? How high is that? In the West, they have something like a ramp. It's a small fatta they put in front of the bus. If there is anybody who comes on the wheelchair, they take him in and then remove that fatta, keep it aside. It's always there in the bus. So just in case anybody is there who is a wheelchair bound person, immediately they'll pull it out and make it accessible through that person. How many buses do we have which are accessible? They are not with the low floor, right? Similarly, with our trains at the railway station, do we ensure accessibility in our railway stations and airports? Every now and then, you must be seeing there are articles in the newspapers where the airlines have treated persons with disabilities with, really very, very inhumane manner because they are not accessible. So that is something I feel is the first thing that we have to, look into. Then I feel even employment. When we talk about employment opportunities for persons with disabilities, we have to move beyond when they just make, candles, they make envelopes, and they have these sheltered workshops, and they make these mundane things. They will not have any market for that. So, just for the sake of making that doesn't make any sense. We have to focus on the skill development and employment programs for persons with disabilities. Now, our new education policy, the National Education Policy 2020, is focusing on skill development. So, I see a lot of hope for our students with disabilities that right from a very young age, they will be trained in some skill which will eventually lead to some employment for them. And similarly, to make them entrepreneurs also, we have to facilitate that entrepreneurship opportunities for them by giving them the right training, by giving them the financial support, and also mentoring them, right? So that is one area I feel is very important. And by far, I feel, the awareness, the sensitization of the community also is still not where it should be. We may be saying that, where we were like, say, 10 or 15 years ago, we have come a long way. I agree. I do not deny that. But still, we are far from actually seeing that transformation in the attitudes of community, people in general. We still see a case in a city like Bombay where a child with disability is removed from a very prestigious school. No, you cannot cope with my curriculum. No, you cannot benefit by being in the school. You better go to a special school. So they put pressure on the parents to remove their child from the school. Very prestigious private school. So why is it still happening? Because the teachers do not want to work that bit extra. They do not want to walk that mile extra to be able to keep this child within their classroom and in collaboration with special educator work with this child. There are still a lot of myths and stereotypes attached with disabilities. For example, for the blind, they'll say, oh, they have some extra sense. They can read mind. They have better memory skills, or they can be the best singers. It's nothing like that. There are so many stereotypes attached to different disabilities. So for that, we need to bust those myths. We need to make people aware of success stories where children with disabilities have done very well for themselves. And also, we have to demystify this disability. It is a person is a person first, and then he has one characteristic like he has one disability. The thing that is happening today is our whole focus is on the disability. A blind child, a hearing impaired child. So, child part is somewhere lost. Our focus is only on his hearing impairment. That needs to change. So if our society accepts and embraces people with disabilities, then the journey of these people will be less difficult. The various obstacles that they face at every step, their families face at every step because of this stigma attached to their condition, that will change. Will make life for them much more, smoother. So that is something I feel we need to conduct. A lot of workshops, a lot of media plays a very important role. So a lot of programs on the media. How you project a person with disability. You see, earlier, every time in any film, a person with intellectual disability used to bring in some comic element in the film. How sad is that? You're making fun of that person who has some intellectual disability or hearing impairment for that matter. So they have to be sensitive not to use a disability in that manner. Rather, media plays a very important role in showing, how people with disabilities are human beings first. So that is how they can create sensitivity amongst people. Uh, yeah, I think these are the things which I would say are very, very important. And of course, yeah, healthcare and preventive measures for disabilities is also something one has to look into. Healthcare services have to be accessible, both. Like, for example, the pregnant women. If accessible healthcare is available in the rural areas and also for people who come from poor socioeconomic background, that will, to a great extent, prevent disabilities. So that is also one thing we must focus on, you know.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ban, for sharing all of this. I mean, your journey as the head of the Department of Special Ed and at SNDT Women's University is amazing. I'm positive that all the students and teachers who have trained under you must be feeling so totally charged up by just being around you. And that's what I'm feeling right now. Thank you for doing this. I hope those who heard you understood all that goes into special education and a special educator's life. Today, all that you shared about the course offers experiential learning in diverse education settings, including, the simulation-based teaching that you shared was wonderful using technology aids for interactive learning. I'm sure that, it sounds so attractive for someone who genuinely wishes to opt for special education, as you shared. What you told about Arushi is, again, very, very nice. That being an experimental school in the premises where students actually get to work there and where you get to observe, guide, and supervise your students was fabulous. The co-teaching model, inviting guest teachers, your alumni to teach your students was wonderful. What you said was so stark and so real about attracting students for special education. Where they don't opt for it as a last available option to learn, but how much effort you put in mentoring them, that came out so beautifully. And it's so critical about how a good mentor is so important in special educators' life. Um,
Can I
how
add?
to?
Can I
Yeah,
add?
please,
I
please. Yeah,
Now that you're talking about influencing others, I want to use your medium. How this is spread far and wide, and people know that there is a scope of good career in special education. Our students, when they're
absolutely.
involved in
Yeah.
the field, it is not just like it's very rewarding, very fulfilling. That is one and most important. But beyond that, it is also not bad monetarily. They get good salaries, and if they are good, they even get
True.
abroad. We have campus placement in our department itself, and many of our students get opportunities even outside India. So, I
Wow.
want
Thank
to,
you for mentioning this. This is very important.
yeah.
Very, very crucial because people really think that, who will go and become a special educator and teach all the disabled population.
No,
But it is
lot of scope, lot
really
of scope.
something very huge.
Yes,
And today the need is tremendous. And as you rightly said, it pays well. It
yes.
pays very well when you're good. And I'm going back to all that you shared about how you mentor your students and your teachers to celebrate each minute victory, about each progress, and how they need to upgrade their skills continuously through RCI and um, all of the hard work that needs to go in sounded really wonderful to me as a parent, doctor. And collaborating with the schools for training or with people like institutions like this for research-based projects, and even working at a policy level for planning is something that you shared, which you've been doing over the years. Um, how you shared that every single special educator needs to upgrade and needs to participate in their own learning, not just do a course and sit idly. How they also, you have been pushing people to, even help in working on curriculums, on transition of children as they age. Uh, you shared about one brilliant thing that I so strongly believe in is the necessity for documentation.
Yes.
World over, it is done so strongly, but in India, we really lack in doing that. And amazing, the late, catching up with the latest trends is so crucial so that you don't become redundant. You said that so beautifully.
Yeah.
Your three asks that I asked in the last question, you clearly said accessibility, skill development, and employment opportunities, and finally, demystifying disability in society. And that was brilliant. So, thank you so much. I'm sure this interview will be heard by many, many parents, many special educators, come a lot of professionals alike, and it would definitely, hopefully guide them to work towards a better world for our children and our adults. Thanks a ton, Doctor, for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I also do not miss an opportunity to advocate for special education. So thanks to you for giving me this opportunity to talk about our field. Thank you so much.
You were listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer, the CEO of MFA and a trustee with the Forum for Autism. If you find this podcast relevant and interesting, it will be great if you leave a review, share, like, and subscribe. You can also let us know if there is any specific topic that you would like us to cover. Feel free to email her on chitra.iyer@myfinad.com, or you can call her on 9833 785 892. That is 9833 785 892.